Maybe it's time we focus less on how someone says we become an entitlement society than address the fact that we are an entitlement society, period. And who knows that better than the man who decades ago warned of this growing and very pricey nanny state, conservative thinker, best-selling author, and the man many have called the very heart and soul of the conservative movement itself, Thomas Sowell. Mr. Sowell, good to have you.
Good being here.
I always think, Thomas, that we get it backwards, that we're all getting our nose out of joint about whose nose is out of joint, but not addressing the indisputable fact that 47% pay no income taxes. More than ever, we're seeing people on the government dole, some genuinely, many not, and it's out of control. What do you think of that?
Well, I think, contrary to what some Republicans seem to think, that's not a negative for the president when the election comes. These are people who are very likely to vote for him. I mean, Franklin D. Roosevelt showed that you could have an economic disaster bigger than this one, and yet win an election in a landslide at the end of his first term.
And he did so because we hadn't gotten out of that depression. We were still in a very deep recession. But, you know, a lot of people by then were on the public dole. The argument that Mitt Romney was raising was that that's what happens in entitlement society. Those who are getting the entitlements remember the guy providing them. But this food stamp thing today is a startling development, is it not? I do want you to react to something Jack Welch mentioned about this entitlement mess with me a short while ago on Fox News. Listen to this. Do you think when voters go to the polls, whatever these polls are saying today, there's an inflection by which they say, we're tired of this?
We don't want to live in this economy. We want to live in a vibrant, growing economy where our children, and where we have safety nets, but the safety nets are paid for from taxes that are created from jobs.
What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, the question, safety net. The question: at what point does a safety net become a hammock? And I'm afraid that's where we are. I was shocked to learn within the past year that the government sends people into supermarkets to tell shoppers that there's their food stamps available. I mean, clearly, this administration understands that that's politically where it's at.
How did we get to 47%? Not paying any income taxes? And I know the ones who are paying payroll taxes. I know those who are genuinely poor. But in the 80s, early 80s, it was in the 20s. And this thing keeps going up and up and up. So the only way to get more money with the government, I guess, is to hike taxes on the rich. But the math doesn't look good.
Well, first of all, raising the tax rate on the rich in no way translates into acquiring more government revenue. I mean, all kinds of statistics, not only from this country, from other countries, Iceland and India come to mind. When the state of Maryland raised a high tax on millionaires left Maryland, and Maryland collected less tax revenue at the high tax rate than it had at the lower tax rate.
What do we do then? I mean, we live in a world now where some, not all, but countries like France are lifting the top rate to, 75%. And a number of premier CEOs in that country have left. So it's following this theme you mentioned, but it does seem to be the way, not of the entire world, but of a lot of it. What's happening?
Well, it's the way of the part of the world that is having riots because they can't sustain the welfare state. Now, we're not at that point yet, but I think we can get there in one more term of Obama.
What should Mitt Romney be advocating, Thomas? I mean, the rap against him is he's got a good intellectual argument, but he doesn't have the passion to present it, or he's just muddying the message. Jack Welch said, just go right out there and espouse the virtues of capitalism and how great it is. Don't hide from it. Wrap your arms around it and sell it. What do you say?
Well, I think it's one thing to explain things in plain English that ordinary people can easily understand. I don't think he needs to rant and carry on. I don't remember Ronald Reagan ranting. He just went out there and made the case, and he won 2 landslide elections. So you don't want Romney or anyone else to be something that they're not. He's not, who was this doctor that the Democrats had that carried on? So he's not that kind of person. And I think for him to try to pretend to be something that he's not would only hurt him. But I think he does need to explain explicitly exactly what it is and why he believes what he does. And I think that's sufficient. I mean, we're not looking for a buddy in chief in the White House.